Hi all, Renee here. I am here today to show you the cards that I made from the September 2025 Fall for Twall, hopefully I said that right, hard word, paper pumpkin kit. And I'm really excited. I forgot to count how many I made. Probably 27, because I made 2 out of each card base, and then I made 1 out of each envelope. So let me show you what I made. So here are the 3 from this card design. Really, really pretty. I made them exactly as they're called for. I don't usually make cards that say thanks or thankful or anything like that, but I'm going to use these for my own personal use, so there you go. So these cards turned out so beautiful, and like I always do with these cards, I cut the card base in half so that I can get twice as many cards out of the kit at least. And then for these cards, I actually used, they're all very similar, just a little bit different on the size of the sentiment. These were sentiments left over from, I think, August, maybe? Another paper pumpkin kit. Because whenever I have stuff left over, I just put it in these little ramekins. They're cheap glass ramekins from Walmart. And that's what I use to keep all my little pieces and parts in. And when I have extra pieces, throw them in there. I have a whole container full of sentiments. So that's what I did. I just grabbed some sentiments. And then these, if you've watched any of my videos before, you've seen this rose before. It is one of my absolute favorites to use. It's called Layers of Beauty. And I do have the entire bundle, which is the stamp set, the dies. Here's a stamp set, very well loved. And the other part that's part of the bundle are these masks. And these masks are where the magic happens. So there are 5 masks. 3 of them are for the flowers and 2 are for the leaves. And so what I do is I just grab inks and go to town making them. I like to do them on watercolor paper because I feel like it gives the best ink blending is on the watercolor paper. That's just what I found with the masks. The other thing I did on all of these is, and they're all the same, so I'm just going to put these ones away so they're not like falling out of my hands. The other thing I did is I cut 3 of them and glued them together. So 2 plain and then the one that I masked and colored. And the colors that I used for the masking, or I'm sorry, for the coloring on the masking, I used some close to my heart colors, but there are very similar colors. Like I think Old Olive would be a good, if you have the Stampin' Up colors, to do the leaves. And this was actually just this color. So the lighter color is done one time through one of the masks, and then you put the next mask on that does all the little like veining and shadowing, and then I did it again, and that gave you the darker color, and that'll work the same way with Stampin' Up inks. So that's what I did for the leaves. Then on let's see, on the rest of the pumpkins, I have pumpkins on the brain. The rest of the flowers, I did pumpkin. That's where I get pumpkin. Pumpkin is the base, so that's the lightest color. You always put your lightest color on first. And then the next color that I did was Cajun Craze. And then the final color I did was Mocha. And I think that turned out the best with doing that dark brown on top. And what it's doing is it's layering it over the Cajun Craze and the pumpkin. And so you get like a little bit of a mixture through the colors, which I love. So that's how I did those. And I think these sentiments were stamped in Blackberry Bliss, I think. But I think it works fine. Even though it's not the same color, I think it works fine. So that's what I did with those cards. So I got 6 out of instead of 3. And then the next one was this really pretty one here, Wishing You the Happiest of Days. And these turned out really pretty. I love the ribbon that was included. And if I would have thought ahead, I would have cut that ribbon in half. So I could have gotten twice as much out of it, because there's enough to do that. So if you haven't done your kit yet, cut your ribbon in half. because this ribbon goes like all the way up to here. So you're like, you know, hiding all this ribbon that you don't even need to worry about that. Just cut it in half and then do your two little pieces and use the other half for something else. But I love this. I wish I would have had a whole bunch more of these sprigs, these leaves here. They are shiny and they're just so beautiful. So I did the 3, and on this one it had you do, from the stamp set, it had you do the leaves to do your backgrounds. And I love the way that came out, looked like falling leaves, and it was actually really easy to do. And I kind of did things differently than they had. This is done with Cajun Craze, which is what comes in your kit. And what I did was I did some first generation, second generation, and then some I did third generation. And so it looked like I had 3 different colors of stamping. And I think it turned out really nice that way. And these stamps are so small that they're really easy to do this kind of background stamping, to create your own background paper. Now, the other half of the card base, I did some more Christmas cards, and I love the way this came out. And look at that. Look what a different look you can get. That is the same exact background paper. And look at the difference that it looks. So what I did with these is I stamped them with acorn, and I'm sure that there is a Stampin' Up color, and I'm trying to remember. I have my colors right here, and I'm not seeing it right off the top of my head, so sorry about that. But with this one, I stamped the little, let's see, where is it? Shepherd's Care, which is, all of this is still available. I stamped the little city of Bethlehem and the shepherd and the sheep, and then I used this small star, and I used my what's it called, Misty repositionable stamping platform. And that way I only had to place it all one time, and then I was able to do all 3 of these cards. And then the coloring I did was so simple. I used Cloud Cover Stampin' Write marker. You can also use alcohol inks. Just don't use alcohol inks with these dye-based inks. You're going to have to use a different ink so that that won't run with it. But this worked great. And then I colored this in just with the Cloud Cover. Turned out great. And then this paper was Cloud Cover, and stamped the Peace on Earth on a little piece of Cloud Cover. And then what I did was I took, this is the same thing, this is from Close to My Heart, I'm still using up, you know, don't throw away your supplies, use up what you have. This is the same thing as Wink of Stella, and I did that on the little star. I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up, but if it does, you're getting a little look. But in person, it's really shiny. So I love the way those came out. I'm still working on getting all of my Christmas cards done. And then the third card, I love this little fox. Oh my goodness gracious. I wish I could get just this little fox. I would buy like a whole package of them. They are so adorable. So this one, I did it exactly as it called for. So I did all of the cards exactly as called for, except of course, cutting them in half. Love the way this came out. You stamped these little guys, the little birds. You stamp those up there with the Cajun Craze, and I really like the way that looks. And then the edge of this has some gold foiling on it. Really, really pretty. Put the little pumpkins and the little fox, and you were done. So that's what I do with those. And then for the other card bases that I cut in half, I needed some more birthday cards because, of course, if you've listened before, next year I am sending birthday cards. That's my goal for next year, is to send birthday cards. So these were done with the same exact colors, the same exact process as I did the cards for that were the backgrounds of these ones. So oops, I'm out of camera. And then these happy birthday sentiments, that came from the More Messages, which I absolutely love this. If you haven't seen it before, it is a one-stop shop for all of these sentiments. I did a whole bunch of them. I'm keeping them in oops, I'm gonna turn it around. I'm keeping them in one of those little ramekins, and so I always have a bunch of sentiments ready to go, and it does all of these sentiments all at one time. and then you line up your die and you cut them all out all at one time. So really, really easy way to get a lot of sentiments done very quickly. So that's where the happy birthday sentiments came from. So love the way that those came out. So those were those. Then what I had left was I had the envelopes left. So what the envelopes look like is they were just white inside and out, and then they had the flap that matched this first background, but in 3 different colors. So what I did there is I took them apart like I always do, and then I thought, okay, what can I do with these? I have a lot of stuff to do, so I want to do something quickly. This is probably the fastest I've ever done one of these paper pumpkins with all my alternates. And so what I did was I took the white envelope, and I'm like, okay, I need to snazz up the envelope a little bit. So I used the Forever Plaid embossing folder, but not as an embossing folder. I used it kind of like a background stamp, I guess you could say. So I just rubbed the ink on it, put the paper down, and then just rubbed it with my hand and transferred the ink onto the backgrounds. And I did 3 different colorways, and I did 3 of each. And so this one was done with Cajun Craze. So that's the background that I got out of the Cajun Craze. And then this little guy right here is that that ribbon that I've used over and over again. It's called the Irregular Trim, something like that. It's awesome. I have used so much of it, and I still have so much left. And then I just used some old oval dies from my stash, and used the stamp from the stamp set that was included, wishing you the happiest of days, because I thought that really will work with all kinds of cards. And then I just layered it up with Cajun Craze paper. And then I also used some basic beige to give it an extra oomph, because once I cut down these envelope flaps, I really didn't have it as wide as I wanted it. So I'm like, okay, well, I can do some double matting and make it look really nice. And this oval right here was cut out of this. So there's a hole behind here. No one will ever know. So I didn't waste a lot of paper. So there's that colorway. Then I did this colorway, and this one was done with Garden Green. And then I used, this is Timid Tiger. And I used Timid Tiger. So that's the way that one came out. And then this one was done with Pecan Pie is the background. And I used the Cajun Craze because I don't have Pecan Pie, ink. Although the acorn may have worked. That's pretty close to Pecan Pie. That's pretty close. So acorn may have worked, but I had gone ahead and used the Cajun Craze to stamp this one. And I just love the way these came out. Again, I used the basic beige on the final, I guess the final layer you would call it. So that is the 27 cards that I made out of the Fall for Twall Paper Pumpkin Kit, which is the September 2025 kit. October should be arriving soon. But in the meantime, I am working on, I'm looking over at my desk because it's a disaster. It is like exploded with stuff. And yeah, it's kind of scary. But I was just looking over there because I've started cutting and putting together cards out of the advent calendar. I have barely made a dent, and I have like 15 cards already. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. I do know the advent calendar is a little bit on the pricey side. It is $99. You will get back $9.90 in future credit to use on another order, so you can consider that like, you know, a $10 discount. But so far what I'm finding is that I'm going to make so many cards out of this kit that, gosh, if you look at how much Hallmark cards cost nowadays in the store, if you haven't bought a card recently, it is so expensive. They're like $8, $7.95 for like a boring card. And I mean, that's 11 cards. I've already made 15. So it's already less than Hallmark cards, and I still have a whole bunch of supplies left. I'll be really excited to see how many cards I can make out of that advent calendar. So, but I'm going off on a tangent. I will let you go. And thank you so much for watching today. If you have any questions about any of the supplies that I used, everything that I used is available except for the Close to My Heart colors. Although there are, like I said, Stampin' Up! Colors that are very similar. Pumpkin Pie, Early Espresso. Let's see. I don't know if Timid Tiger. I think Timid Tiger is a little more bright than Pumpkin. And then Pine Old Olive is probably a close for that. So everything else is still available. Of course, this particular Paper Pumpkin from September is not available, but if you're interested in Paper Pumpkin, it is $27 a month, and you can do month to month. You can buy 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year at a time. Now, unfortunately, buying more than month to month, you do not end up with any sort of a deal, and the $27 does include shipping. So, if that's something you want to do, like for myself, I just had to renew mine, and I just did it on a month to month. So, and you do earn Stampin' Rewards for Paper Pumpkin. It's based on the cost of the kit minus the shipping that's included. So I believe you get $2 back that you can spend at a later date. So if there are any other questions that come up about that, please let me know. I am more than happy to get back with you and answer questions. So thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one.